Welcome to Game Changers Live from Miami, Florida. My name is Sergio Tigera. I'm your host. And each and every week, we bring you someone who has been a game changer in their field and who's touched the lives of thousands to get their perspective on their journey, their mindset, their struggles and successes so that we can inspire you on your journey. So let's get started right now. And welcome to Game Changers Live. My name is Sergio. You can catch us each and every week on your favorite podcast platform, as well as YouTube, and now on Island TV, which is on Comcast on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:30 p.m. And we're coming to you live from our FIU studios in the College of Communications, Architecture, and the Arts in beautiful Miami, Florida. You can see here behind me. And I have a special treat for everyone out there. We have Miss Ann Hand. She's the CEO and chairman of Super League Gaming, which is listed on the Nasdaq. And she brings over 25 years of experience as a market-facing executive across several industries, including consumer, retail, and sustainability. Throughout her career, Ann has been honored with multiple awards and industry recognition, including 100 Most Intriguing Entrepreneurs by Goldman Sachs, Top 10 Most Powerful Women Entrepreneurs by Fortune, 100 Most Creative People by Fast Company, 40 Under 40 by Advertising Age, you name it. And she has experience having worked at BP, with Mobil Oil, McDonalds, a number of large organizations, very well-respected organizations. And now we're going to be talking about her journey and how she made that change over from the corporate life into the gaming space and the metaverse space, which is incredibly fascinating, has the it's captured the imagination of so many, and it's going to help us understand this a little better. So welcome, Ann.
Thank you for having me.
So, you spent a lot of time in the corporate world. How long were you there? And tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. I was in large cap companies for close to 20 years. And, I did kind of the classic thing. It was kind of winning when you got out of college if you got offered a job with a big company, right? So as you and I joked earlier, I was an econ major. I got a job offer to be a marketing rep at Mobil Oil. The pay was good, right? That's why you took it. And so I drove my car out to Washington, D.C. and went through training. And then I ran a bunch of gas station convenience stores in inner city Philly. Think about how you even found jobs back then. You opened up the newspaper and circled one ad. I looked around though in my training group, there were about 15 of us, and people were impressive, had turned down jobs with Coca-Cola and big companies. So in my mind, I thought I must be doing something
You're on
right.
the right path, right.
And my dad owned a lot of restaurants growing up. He was the first franchisee ever of Fuddruckers, and I worked there.
Really?
Bus tables. And so I was used to working in retail, very comfortable with it. And frankly, it'd be a reality show today. Stick a girl from Indiana in the middle of downtown Philly. In fact, I talk to people who are from Philadelphia, and they're always like, oh, it couldn't have been that tough of a neighborhood. And then I give them the cross sections of some of my locations. And I was one of the few territories in the country where we let our managers carry guns because there was that much crime. But gas stations are funny places. They're 24/7, and all kinds of crazy stuff happens. And so to me, it was every day, kind of literally or figuratively fighting fires, but also learning how to grow those businesses. Each one did about 3 to 5 million a year in revenue. So you run 20 of them, you're running a nice P&L there. So I'm grateful for the experience. And as I moved up the corporate ladder and then spent my last 7-8 years in London with BP as an executive, I didn't look like the typical oil company executive. I was female, American, younger. And people would often say, where are you from? How'd you get here? Kind of questioning my right to be there a little bit. And the fact I started kind of close to the mailroom, so to speak, by starting in the stations themselves and getting my hands dirty always gave me a lot of credibility. I was doing well with BP. I was really enjoying living in London. I was on my third assignment there. One of the things I was struggling with a little bit, though, is I kept thinking, gosh, if I take one more assignment, one more 3 to 4 year stretch, will I ever move back to the States? And I also looked above at what's the next job. And it was a job where it was starting to get less fun again. because I was running global P&Ls worth multiple $billion, global brands,
Wow.
lots of autonomy. And so I started to just wonder if maybe I had gotten way further than I ever imagined in my wildest dreams, and I should capture victory. And I remember saying to myself on several occasions, walk out when you're on top. Like walk out when you feel you're on a high. And I did that. And that's probably one of the greatest work lessons and gifts I've ever had. It felt so good to walk out knowing you were beloved and valued. And I didn't allow, I stayed in control of my relationship to the company. And, but I did kind of a little naively. There's another guy who is an exec too, a good friend of mine, and he had just gone to run a startup for Kleiner Perkins and said, oh, you'd be great running a startup. And I'm like, I would? And, because my dad was entrepreneurial and I was kind of known in BP for running really flat teams. I like to take layers out. So I was kind of an intrapreneur kind of type person. So I was like, let's do it. Let's do it. So I started meeting various VCs and I ran a clean tech startup in the Bay Area for about 5 years. I'm grateful for the time. I had really supportive, nice VCs who really kind of taught me the ways of Sand Hill Road and the lingo. Like I didn't even know what runway meant. When they kept talking about runway, I'm thinking like Project Runway, the TV show, or, jet fuel from my background. So I'm really grateful. I mean, I'd say the things I learned though, the hard way is, it takes a different level of resiliency. I had never spent countless nights awake worried about making payroll the next week when I was at BP. I was never worried you weren't going to get paid. And that weight of worrying about all of my employees, their families, their health care, that was harder than the weight of revenue. It's why I do love being a CEO in the sense that I love caring and nurturing and growing and supporting people. But I will say that it was tough. And the good news is what I did learn positively is raising money externally is just like raising money internally. You've got to find people who believe in your story. You need to substantiate it. You need to sell it better than the last company that was in the room.
I wanted to touch on something you said there about making payroll and so forth and healthcare. The big difference that it's on you. It's something personal now. Now it's your name on the line. And it's not about you getting fired. It's about all these other people losing their jobs. And the responsibility of that is enormous, and you don't really get that at a public company because there's always extra funds you can raise, and it's so big. It's almost like you're almost detached, right? There's a sense of detachment that as an entrepreneur it becomes extremely real,
and you bear it alone in many ways.
Correct.
Sure, you might have a board, you'll have some other executives, but at the end of the day it all stops with you. So you'll often hear people talk about like, oh, it's lonely, isn't it? It's lonely. And that is a good word to kind of sometimes describe that internal kind of sentiment that's stirring inside of you, that there's a loneliness to it. Yeah.
And as a coach, when I speak to CEOs, it's funny because it's that type of relationship. It's like, oh, let me just, I need somebody to tell to, because I can't tell my people that I'm not really sure about what to do, right? I need to show the face that I got this under control, but having somebody that you can just kind of talk to and say, oh my God, it's like the imposter syndrome in a sense, right? We're getting into new areas and we're pushing the boundaries, but we don't have all the answers, and it could be a scary place sometimes, but it's good to have that person that you can talk to, whether it's another friend or a coach or something.
Yeah. In fact, I, now feel comfortable for the first time sharing some of those war stories from the early days, even of Super League, because, we're at a point now where we're getting real revenue traction. And so, but, it was completely a secret that I held alone for the first few years, that I was sometimes taking money on my own checking account to make payroll.
Wow.
And those are things that, and you can't tell anybody that without them being afraid, right?
Right.
And certainly I also weighed heavily the whole responsibility of also being open enough and transparent enough, because they don't also deserve to have a big surprise happen in their life. It was only for the confidence that I knew I would be able to raise the money and keep the business going that I made a decision to kind of shield people at times from how close things got. And I always had a plan B and C. That's the other thing that kind of gave me some peace of mind to kind of forge ahead. Yeah.
And so from there, you decide to leave this company and move on to something else. Did that opportunity just present itself, or did you go out looking for it, or what was it?
Well, a little bit of both. I was out talking to some other early stage companies. None were based in LA. I knew some of the board member investors of Super League. The company was about 3 or 4 months old. And they said, well, why on earth are you going to go, with these other companies when this is right in your backyard? It's in Los Angeles, you can, because I was flying up to San Francisco every week for those 5 years. And so I was kind of ready to put the roller bag away for a bit. And my first reaction was like, gaming, no way. Now, we all know marketing 101 is you don't have to be the consumer. You just have to know your consumer, right? I sold a lot of Mobil 1 motor oil, and I can't change my oil in my car, right? But that said, it really did intimidate me a little bit. My games were Galaga and Centipede. I rode my Centipede to a smoky, kind of creepy bowling alley in town. And, and so I grew out of it. That was the big thing. And so I started to kind of look at the space, and I think I was really blown away. I was blown away with the fact that gaming, and this is again 7 years ago, gaming was already the bigger form of entertainment, bigger than TV, 3 times the size of the film box office pre-COVID.
Is it really?
Yeah. Okay, so 81% of Gen Z say gaming is their favorite activity. The reason is because gaming's so different than when I was growing up. It's so much more about creation and community. If you're inside games like platforms like Roblox and Minecraft, you might be playing a game someone's made for you, or you might be building the game yourself, or you really just might be having fun chatting with people that are like-minded. But it really is like the digital cul-de-sac or playground. And what I also started to see was how good gaming can be for you. These games are rooted in a lot of STEM learning. And and you're increasingly seeing games like Minecraft being used inside classrooms, because isn't it better to learn about speedometry through teaching a Hot Wheels car to jump a ramp versus, reading in a book? And so all of a sudden I thought, I'd get really excited when there's an opportunity to debunk a myth about a brand or an opportunity or a segment. I like to root for the underdogs. I've got some patterns when you look at all the brands I've run and the way that I've driven the brand strategy. And I felt like there's a huge opportunity to shine a light on how beautifully diverse and rich the gaming audience is, that it's a lifelong interest now, something you don't grow out of. You have a lot of millennials these days having their first kids and they're gaming with their kids. And it's becoming a family activity. And so once I got excited that this was actually a pretty mainstream play, an opportunity and a way to kind of create a brand that was about inclusion, diversity, positive gaming. The gamers are not just young boys, sitting in their basement alone who are introverted. And I just felt like that was the big opportunity. So I got my head around it, but I must be honest with you. It took me a few years to stop a troublesome narrative in my head once I joined, because I would get asked all the time, like, energy to gaming? Wow. And it could be friends. It could be
everyone's surprised.
They're like, recruiters I've known for a long time. Yeah. It was people kind of almost, the tone of the question sounded like I had made a mistake. Like, what went wrong with your career?
Right.
And thou dost protest too much line. I mean, when I'd answer the question, I'd hear myself and I was like, oh, geez, Anne, shut up. Like, why are you trying so hard to explain this? And I was talking to a great friend who used to be my Ogilvy and Mather account manager when I was running all the brands for BP. And he knows me well. And he's like, why don't you just shut up and say you're versatile? And I burst out loud, like laughing when he said it. And then about a week later, I think I was at the Milken conference on a panel on stage, and somebody said, "Hey, Ann, your background. I mean, how did this happen?"
Right.
And I just said, I guess I'm versatile. And I let myself say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
And the moment I did, well, first of all, the audience laughed. They thought, "Oh, clever answer."
Yeah.
Everybody kind of laughed. I got some applause. Well,
It's like
that
a
made me
Swiss
feel
Army
better.
knife, right? I had different
And
things
then
I can
all of
pull
a
out.
sudden, it just became, once I vocalized it, I believed it.
By vocalizing it, you're creating new neural pathways, right? And you're starting
That's
to
right.
form a new thinking pattern. So that's fantastic that you were able to do that. I wanted to comment on something you said before earlier as well, because I have a 9-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old son. And the 9-year-old has been taking coding classes for the last year, twice a week. She's already taken over, I think, 60 or 70 classes with an outfit out of India.
Hmm.
Very, very good program. But the like you talked about STEM and logical thinking. Her grades were great, but now she gets straight A's because it has drastically improved
That's
her
right.
like her logical thinking skills.
Hmm.
And so I definitely see gaming playing a much bigger role in the classroom as a way to learn by applying some of these concepts in a really entertaining and fun way.
Yeah.
Every class that she has, it's not theory, she's creating, it's a project, and eventually she's going to create her own apps and everything else. And so
That's
you're absolutely right. There's a huge educational component that perhaps it hasn't come out full circle yet, or in terms of in terms of visibility and acceptance by the market and just by educators.
Yeah.
But you
Yeah,
know,
you kind of nailed it because a lot of people don't realize Microsoft owns Minecraft. They bought it back in, I think, kind of
really, I
2014.
had no idea. There you go.
Yeah, they bought it for about $3 billion, I think 2014 maybe. And we've been working with Minecraft as one of our core games because we have a unique position. We reach about 70 million under 18 players a month. And
70
and we've
million
been
underage,
70.
so 70 million under 18 players per month.
Yeah, yeah. And we are
Wow.
and we've been working around the game of Minecraft since our inception. So we've been working around Minecraft, which is such a beloved game, for about 8 years. And so I would think if I were in the hallways of Microsoft, that a big reason of purchasing that game was for that educational component. Minecraft is increasingly, as I mentioned earlier, they do have education modules. It is used in schools. They have a trained up network of educators across the country. And I think they're just scratching the surface of how that will be gamifying learning.
So tell me, and for the listeners to know about Super League Gaming, how did this company start? What does it do? What is its mission and the impact that it's having?
Yeah, yeah. So we started out in the early days and we were thinking a lot about the popularity of that term esports. Now, what's esports? It's just another way to say competitive video gaming. And so you had a lot of these professional esports teams and leagues that were attracting a lot of investor money. And we were like, well, what about the little league? Right. So we started out thinking about youth esports, and we were building leagues and tournaments, again, very positive about teamwork and good sportsmanship and all of that, healthy competition.
So it's
But we
almost
were,
like little league sports
yeah,
versus, collegiate or AAA or baseball or
it's
Major League
exactly.
Baseball, right?
So
Okay.
we started there and we were working around the game Minecraft. And what we realized is that in the game of Minecraft, sure, there's kids who would really like the competitive games, but there's just as many kids who want to create, either build games or build a beautiful skyscraper or volcano. And there's all kinds of different audiences. And some are there more for the casual social aspects as well. And
Mm.
so, as the company was kind of trying to find its unique lane in this bigger gaming ecosystem, we started to speak to a wider audience of people who like those types of games. So we talk a lot about metaverse games or open world platform games. And the first thing I say when I talk to CMOs or CEOs is, I'm not talking about like Facebook metaverse. You don't have to have, a VR headset to play these games, right? These are games that already exist, like Minecraft and like Roblox. And again, those are really platforms because you go into those platforms and you play games people have made, or you can make your own games inside of them. And so what we started doing is really trying to speak to the widest set of audience of kids who enjoy those open world type platform games that, again, have been around for over a decade, and we've been in it for over 8 years. So we started just expanding our footprint, and that's why we now reach those 70 million plus players a month. Now, our primary business model is in a very safe way, we're COPA compliant. We also have our Kids Safe certification. We bring brands into those game experiences to reach that under 18, very elusive cord cutting gamer, right? Because that same audience, I said their favorite activity is gaming. Well, over 80% of them also use ad blocking technology. And so this isn't about pop-up windows and slapping logos. Okay, this isn't kind of our internet advertising experience. This is a very innovative, modern experience. So we already own and operate game worlds and own audiences inside Roblox and Minecraft. We also partner with other people who own games inside of them. And then we're effectively bringing brands into our own experiences in there. So how would that work? Well, it could be that it's an existing, exciting game that really speaks to young girls. And we may take a corner of the map of that game, not the whole game over, but just a corner of that map, and turn it into a Barbie paradise or SpongeBob underwater adventure. And, and it's a gameplay mode. So it's something immersive that's really fun, and it unlocks different values and different types of benefits to the gamer. So to the gamer, it's not being shouted at, it's an experience. And it delivers super high engagement, as you can expect for the brand. And because we have such a large footprint, what I say to CMOs is, don't be afraid, because we already have millions of players in that game already there. If they see SpongeBob waving at them in the corner with some cool game mechanic going on, they're going to run over there and want to engage. A good example is this past weekend, we ran a fashion show event for Oshkosh, the kids' clothing line inside the metaverse. And then the reason it makes so much sense for brands is, now imagine if you bought a cool t-shirt or pair of overalls for your avatar in the game. Well, now next week or next month, when it lands in the stores, you want that pair of overalls for your physical self too, right? Because the thing is, these kids don't see a digital life and a physical life. It's just their life. And the things they want their avatar to engage with, their online persona to engage with as far as brands, are the same ones they want to bring into their physical life. So really the metaverse becomes really an essential channel for customer acquisition for brands.
It's a fascinating topic, and this is going to continue. We gotta cut it out here, but there is so much to learn in this space, and I'm really happy that you all are creating these safe spaces for kids to play and learn and develop, and then having brands get involved. That's just the future of it. So congratulations on your success and on the incredible run that you've had, and thank God that you made that jump, because now you wouldn't have seen the growth that you've seen over the years. So congratulations to you and the team and the Super League Gaming. Much success to everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Sergio.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you next week. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to share and like and subscribe. Give a thumbs up. Let us know what you thought of this episode and any other topics that you want us to hear about, talk about later on. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next week. If you loved what you heard in today's episode of Game Changers, please subscribe and rate us. The lessons and the stories in these podcasts are immensely valuable, so I invite you to share them with a friend who needs to hear it. You may end up being the game changer in their lives.